The calm that followed felt unreal. After days of shaking ground, rising water, and burning skies, the world stood still. Not peaceful, but quiet in a way that made people hold their breath. Humanity waited for the next blow. It did not come. Instead, the message returned. Every screen on Earth lit up once more. The same tall shape appeared, wrapped in slow-moving light. But something was different this time. The voice was no longer cold. Humanity, it said, the measurement is complete. People gathered in streets, shelters, and ruins. They listened without shouting. Too tired for panic. Too broken for anger. You were judged unworthy based on history, the voice continued. Division, war, waste, uncontrolled growth. Images appeared beside the being. Old human wars, burning cities, broken planets from other worlds, long dead. We believed you would fail as others did. The image changed. Now it showed humans during the trials, sharing food, carrying the wounded, turning off their own lights so others could live. A low sound passed through the alien alliance. Not words, something like discomfort. What you showed us, the voice said, was not efficiency. It paused. It was defiance. On Earth, people looked at each other. Some cried quietly. Some held hands. No one spoke. You defied fear, the alien continued. You defied logic. You defied survival models. Behind the speaker, other shapes appeared. Different forms. Different colors. Members of the Alliance. They were arguing. Humanity was seeing this for the first time. The truth. The Alliance was not united. For thousands of cycles, the voice said, we have removed worlds that reached this stage. Not out of cruelty. Out of caution. The image showed other species. Tall cities. Bright skies. Then silence. They chose self before whole. Always. The voice grew softer. You did not. A new figure stepped forward, interrupting the speaker. Its shape was sharper, movements fast. This species is dangerous, it said. They grow stronger under pressure. They bond through pain. If allowed to expand, they will challenge us, another added. Fear filled their voices. Humanity understood then. This was never about weakness. It was about what humans might become. The first voice returned. Yes, it said. They are dangerous. A pause. So are stars before they are understood. The Alliance split openly now. Some demanded Earth's removal continue. Others argued the test had already gone too far. On Earth, leaders waited, but no one tried to speak for humanity. They had learned something important. This moment did not belong to rulers. It belonged to everyone. In the streets, people began to sit together. Not to protest. Not to pray. Just to be seen. To show the watchers what they truly were. Not perfect. Not peaceful. But present. The alien voice spoke again. There is one final truth you must know, it said. The test was not only for you. The image zoomed out, showing alien worlds. Many of them. Our alliance is built on control, the voice admitted. On order. On preventing loss at any cost. The sharper figure spoke again. And your species threatens that order. Yes, the first voice replied calmly. That is why they matter. A long silence followed. Then the voice addressed humanity directly. You showed unity without command. Sacrifice without reward. Strength without dominance. People held their breath. These traits cannot be removed, the voice said. They can only be feared. The Alliance argued one last time. Loud. Emotional. Divided. Then, slowly, some of the alien figures faded away. They had left the vote. Only a few remained. The first voice spoke again, and this time it sounded almost respectful. The judgment has changed, it said. But the cost of change must be paid. On Earth, hearts sank. Not another trial. Not more loss. But the voice continued. To prove unity is not limited to your own species, you must act beyond yourselves. Images appeared of a distant world. Smaller than Earth. Blue and green. Peaceful. They are scheduled for removal, the voice said. They failed our tests. The image showed their people. Afraid. Unaware. You may intervene. Murmurs spread across Earth. Intervene how? The voice answered before the question formed. You will give. Without promise. Without protection. Without reward. Silence followed. Humanity had already lost millions. Resources were low. Systems were weak. Helping another world could cost everything. The alien watchers waited. This was the moment that would decide everything. On Earth, there was no meeting. No vote. No leader stepping forward. The answer came from everywhere at once. Ships prepared. Data was shared. Supplies gathered. People who had nothing gave anyway. Not because they were brave, because they had learned who they were. The alien voice spoke one last time in this message. "We did not expect this outcome," it said. "And that," it added quietly, "is why your story is no longer just yours." As the screen faded to black, humanity did not cheer. They moved. Because the final truth was now clear. The universe did not fear human weapons. It feared human choice. The silence did not last long. On the 12th day, the Alien Alliance began the real test. There was no warning message, no voice from the sky. Instead, the world felt it. Earth itself seemed to turn against its people. In the north, the ground shook as cities trembled. Buildings cracked, but did not fall. In the south, heat waves burned fields already low on food. In the east, the sea rose higher than any forecast. In the west, storms moved in strange patterns, slow but unstoppable. These were not random disasters. The aliens designed them carefully. Each event was strong enough to cause fear, but not strong enough to end everything. Each one forced humans to make hard choices with little time. Save one place or many. Protect resources or share them. Run or stay. Humanity understood quickly. This was the trial. In one coastal city, alarms screamed as water rushed in. Boats were not enough for everyone. Some tried to push their way aboard. Panic turned hands into weapons. Then an old fisherman did something strange. He tied his boat to the dock and refused to leave. "If I go," he said, "others will fight. If I stay, they will choose." Some did not understand him, but others did. People began organizing instead of shouting. Boats filled fairly. The fisherman stayed behind, helping until the last moment. When the water reached his chest, another boat returned for him. The aliens recorded this. In a dry land far from the sea, a different choice was made. A food storehouse held enough grain to save one city. Another city nearby was starving. Leaders argued. Time was short. Finally, the gates were opened. The grain was divided. Both cities survived, weak but alive. The alliance watched closely. Loss was expected. Sacrifice was not. On the 13th day, the test grew harder. Medical systems failed across several regions. Power could only support one major hospital at a time. Doctors had to choose where to send it. There were no good answers. Some hospitals shut down. People died. The watchers noted the deaths. But they also noted something else. Doctors staying with patients even when machines went dark. Nurses holding hands instead of tools. Volunteers carrying the sick across broken streets. Humanity did not stop caring just because it was losing. The alliance began to feel something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. By the 14th day, millions were dead. The test was not kind. It was never meant to be. But instead of breaking apart, humanity changed shape. Local groups formed everywhere. Not armies, not governments, just people who knew each other. They shared food, shared power, shared fear. Information traveled through human chains instead of machines. Runners crossed cities. Signals were flashed from rooftops. Old radios came back to life. The aliens expected collapse. They saw adaptation. In one mountain region, a landslide trapped thousands. Heavy machines were gone. Time was short. People dug with hands. Nails broke. Blood ran. No one stopped. When the last survivor was pulled free, there was no cheering. Only quiet breathing and tears. Above the planet, an observer spoke. "They are exhausting themselves." Another replied, "They choose to." On the 15th day, the alliance revealed the truth. A message appeared again, shorter than before. "This is not punishment," the voice said. "This is measurement." The disasters continued even as the message faded. Humanity no longer waited for explanations. They acted. Some choices were selfish. Some places fell. Some people turned violent. The aliens marked those too. But the larger pattern could no longer be denied. When faced with shared danger, humans did not unite under one leader. They united under one idea. No one gets left behind, if there is any choice at all. On the 16th day, a final trial within the trial began. A massive failure struck Earth's largest energy hub. If it collapsed fully, half the planet would go dark for weeks. There was only one solution. Overload a smaller hub on the other side of the world. It would burn out completely. Millions there would lose power instantly. The decision had to be made in minutes. No global leader spoke. The choice came from the ground. Messages flooded local networks. Do it. We can survive. Save them. The switch was thrown. The smaller hub died. Cities went dark. Cold spread. Fear followed. But half the world stayed alive. The alien alliance fell silent. This was not a test they expected to pass. The data was clear. Humanity did not act like prey. It did not act like machines. It acted like a family under threat, loud, broken, imperfect, but unwilling to abandon itself. On the 17th day, the disaster slowed. The ground grew still. The storms weakened. The sea pulled back. People noticed. They looked at the sky again, not with fear this time, with tired eyes and quiet hope. Above Earth, the Alliance argued more fiercely than ever. If we stop now, we admit error, one said. If we continue, we risk creating something dangerous, another replied. A third voice, old and careful, spoke last. This species does not fear loss the way we do. The trial of unity was not over. But one truth was already clear. Humanity was no longer being tested alone. The universe itself was being forced to rethink what strength truly meant. The message arrived without warning. It did not crash systems or burn the sky. It did not scream or threaten. It was calm. Too calm. Every screen on Earth turned black at the same time. Phones, billboards, office walls, even old radios went silent. Then a single image appeared. A shape, not fully solid, floating in deep space. Tall, thin, and wrapped in moving light. Its eyes did not blink. Its voice was clear and slow, spoken in every human language at once. People of Earth, you have been observed. Across the planet, billions froze. In a small apartment, a night shift nurse stopped tying her shoes. In a desert base, soldiers lowered their weapons. In crowded cities, traffic came to a halt. Planes kept flying, but pilots stared at the same image, their hands shaking on the controls. The voice continued. You are divided. You are violent. You are inefficient. Your species has reached the limit of acceptable risk. No explosions followed. No ships appeared in the sky. That made it worse. The being spoke again. Our alliance has voted. Your world is scheduled for removal. In 1 second, panic spread faster than sound. People screamed. Some cried. Some laughed in disbelief. Others fell to their knees. World leaders shouted orders that no one could hear. Markets collapsed in moments. Religions clashed online. Old fears woke up everywhere at once. Then the voice raised one thin hand. There is an alternative. The noise faded. You will be given one cycle of your star. You will not fight us. You will not hide. You will decide who you are. The image shifted. Stars moved behind the being like slow water. Prove your worth through unity. Or step aside quietly. The screen went black. Just like that, it was over. No countdown. No clear rules. Only a single truth left behind. Humanity had been judged. In the hours that followed, chaos ruled. Governments tried to speak, but their words felt small. Some leaders called it trick. Others demanded weapons. A few ordered silence. None of it mattered. The sky did not change. The sun rose as always. That somehow made it worse. People waited for ships, for fire, for death. Nothing came. On the first day, old habits returned. Borders closed. Armies moved. Networks blamed each other. The past refused to let go. On the second day, something else began. In a hospital near the sea, the nurse from before worked double shifts without being asked. She stopped counting hours. Patients were afraid. She stayed with them anyway. In a city that once fought itself, volunteers cleared streets together. Not for money, not for praise, just because they were there. On the third day, scientists shared files they had hidden for years. Energy plans, medical data, failed ideas that might now matter. No one announced these acts. No one claimed credit. They simply happened. High above Earth, unseen machines watched everything. They tracked violence, yes, but they also tracked something new. Messages sent across old enemy lines. Supply drops with no flags. Soldiers helping civilians from nations they once trained to fight. The numbers confused the observers. Human behavior was supposed to narrow under fear. Instead, it spread outward. On the fourth day, a child asked a simple question on a live broadcast. "If they're watching us," she said, her voice shaking, "are we watching each other?" The clip spread across the planet in minutes. People began to look up, not at the sky, but at those around them. On the fifth day, something unexpected happened. A small country offered its power grid to a larger one that had failed. No trade, no demand, just help. Others followed. By the sixth day, the world still argued, still feared, still broke in many places. But it was no longer standing alone. Above the planet, the alien alliance reviewed the data again and again. Patterns that should not exist were forming. Cooperation without command. Sacrifice without reward. One observer finally spoke. "This species should be tearing itself apart." Another replied quietly, "Instead, it is stitching itself together." On Earth, no one heard that. Humans only knew the time was almost gone. And for the first time in their long, violent history, they faced the end not as tribes or nations, but as one fragile world deciding what kind of species it would be. The decision spread across Earth faster than fear ever had. No signal ordered it. No leader announced it. People simply knew. If humanity wanted to prove who it truly was, this was the moment. The distant world appeared again on screens. Blue oceans, Greenland, small cities near rivers. Its people looked fragile, much like humans once did. They had failed the Alliance's tests. They were marked for removal, just like Earth had been. Time was short. Humanity began to prepare with what little it had left. Old ships were repaired. Cargo vessels became lifeboats. Satellites were rewritten for long-range travel. Scientists worked without sleep, sharing every mistake and every hope. Energy was the hardest cost. To send help across stars, Earth would need to drain power from entire regions. Cities would go dark. Machines would stop. Lives would be harder. People agreed anyway. In one frozen city, lights shut off street by street. Families gathered close for warmth. No one complained. In a hot region, water systems slowed to save energy. People carried buckets together, helping the weak first. Everywhere, the same choice was made. Others before self. Above Earth, the alien alliance watched in silence. They expected hesitation. They saw commitment. The first human ships launched quietly. No celebration. No speeches. Just engines burning against the dark. Inside the ships were not soldiers. Doctors. Engineers. Farmers. Teachers. People who built, not destroyed. The journey was dangerous. Human technology was never meant for this distance. Systems failed. One ship was lost completely, vanishing into silence. Earth felt the loss like a wound. No one turned back. The Alliance issued no protection, no safe path. This was the price. When the ships finally arrived, the smaller world panicked. Their skies filled with unknown shapes. Their leaders prepared to surrender. Then the human message reached them. "We are not here to rule. We are here to help." Supplies were delivered first. Food, clean energy units, medical tools, then knowledge. Humans taught them how to adapt, how to share, how to survive without fear. They stayed only long enough to make a difference. Then they left. Back on Earth, the cost became clear. Power failures spread. Transport slowed. Food shortages returned. Some regions slipped into darkness for weeks. People suffered. People died. The alien alliance watched closely. This was the moment where other species always broke. They expected Earth to regret. They expected anger. Instead, they saw something else. Messages sent from Earth to the saved world, even as Earth weakened. "We are glad you are alive." No demand. No debt. Just relief. The alliance began to change. Not all of them. Some members pulled away completely, afraid. They sealed their borders, cutting contact. Others stayed. They studied humanity again, with new eyes. "This species gives without control," one observer said. "Without assurance." "They weaken themselves willingly," said another. An older voice answered. "They invest in futures they may never see." On Earth, weeks passed. Systems slowly recovered. The worst had passed, but scars remained everywhere. Humanity stood at the edge of collapse. Then the Alliance returned. This time, the message did not appear suddenly. The sky itself shifted. Stars bent slightly, like light through water. Massive shapes formed above the atmosphere, visible to the naked eye. People stepped outside. They were not afraid. They were too tired for fear. The voice spoke one final time. "Humanity," it said, "your final act is complete." The Alliance admitted what it had never said before. "We are not saviors," the voice said. "We are survivors who chose control over trust." Images appeared of countless worlds removed, lost not because they were evil, but because they failed to meet cold rules. "You broke our rules," the voice continued, "and in doing so, exposed their limits." A long pause followed. "The removal of Earth is cancelled." A wave of sound passed across the planet. Not cheering, not shouting. People simply sat down. Some cried. Some laughed quietly. But the voice was not finished. "You will not be ruled," it said. "You will not be watched as subjects." The stars shifted again. "You will stand." The Alliance made its final declaration. Humanity would be recognized not as a member, but as a guide. A species allowed to grow freely, to make mistakes, to challenge old systems. Not because it was strongest, but because it chose to stand for others when it could have saved only itself. As the alien shapes faded, Earth remained. Broken, scarred, alive. Humanity had made its last stand. Not with weapons, but with choice. And the universe would never forget it. The world did not change all at once. Fear was still everywhere. Old anger did not disappear just because the sky had spoken. Humanity was trying to stand, but its legs were weak from centuries of mistrust. On the seventh day, world leaders met in a shared emergency channel. Faces from every nation filled the screens. Some looked tired. Some looked angry. A few looked afraid. "We cannot trust them," one leader said. "This is a test meant to break us." "We should prepare our weapons," another replied. "If they want unity, they will respect strength." Others argued for silence, for hiding, for saving their own people first. The meeting ended with no clear plan. Across the world, soldiers still guarded borders. Ships still pointed their guns at other ships. Missiles remained ready, waiting for orders that might never come. The alien watchers saw this and marked it down. Division still strong. But they also saw something else. In a mountain lab, two scientists worked together for the first time. They came from countries that once blocked each other's research. Now they shared data without asking permission. Their goal was simple: find a way to protect Earth's atmosphere if the aliens decided to strike. In a dry land where water had always been fought over, people opened their reserves to nearby regions. They knew supplies might run out. They shared anyway. In the ruins of a city damaged by old wars, builders from different nations repaired hospitals together. They spoke different languages, but their hands moved in the same rhythm. These acts did not stop conflict. There were still riots, still fights, still voices calling for violence. But the balance was slowly shifting. On the eighth day, the aliens acted again. Not with words. Across the planet, systems began to fail. Not all at once, just enough to hurt. Power grids went dark in major cities. Communication satellites drifted off course. Shipping routes closed as guidance systems failed. The damage was precise. Humanity understood the message. Solve this together, or suffer alone. Panic returned, stronger than before. Some nations cut themselves off, hoping to save what they could. Others reached out, desperate for help. The first global failure came quickly. A major region lost power completely. Hospitals shut down. Water stopped flowing. Millions were at risk. For a moment, it seemed the test was over. Then something unexpected happened. A rival nation rerouted its own power supply. Their cities went dark instead. Leaders argued, but engineers acted faster. They sent energy across borders that once meant nothing but danger. Lives were saved. The alien watchers paused. This was not efficient behavior. This was not logical survival. This was choice. On the ninth day, disasters continued. Storms hit places already broken. Fires spread where resources were thin. Floods came without warning. Each disaster forced a decision. Save yourself, or help others. Some failed. Cities burned while help waited too long. Ships turned away to protect their own cargo. The observers recorded those failures. But they also recorded something else. Rescue teams crossing oceans without orders. Doctors flying into danger zones with no promise of return. Civilians giving up food, shelter, and safety for strangers they would never meet. No single leader controlled this. No central command existed. Humanity was acting like a living thing, not a machine. On the 10th day, a message appeared again on the world screens. Not from the alien alliance. From humans. A shared broadcast created by volunteers, not governments. It showed simple images. People helping people. Hands reaching through smoke. Strangers hugging after survival. No speeches. No flags. No blam. Just one sentence at the end. We're still here. The broadcast spread faster than any weapon ever had. People cried. People shared it. People believed, even just a little. High above Earth, the Alliance began to argue. This level of cooperation should not exist without enforcement, one observer said. They are losing resources faster than gaining, said another. This is irrational. A third spoke, softer. It is something we do not understand. Back on Earth, the strain was showing. Supplies were low. Systems were fragile. Trust was still thin. But humanity was no longer standing alone in pieces. It was leaning on itself. On the 11th day, a final failure hit before the next phase. A global network crashed, cutting off large parts of the world from each other. Silence returned. For a moment, it felt like the end. Then, slowly, local signals came online. Short range. Weak. Enough. People adapted. They always had. And as Earth struggled to stay connected, the Alien Alliance prepared the next test. Because now they were no longer asking if humanity would fail. They were asking how far it would go. The sky returned to normal. No great light. No sudden silence. Just clouds, stars, and the familiar blue above Earth. For a moment, people wondered if it had all been a dream. But the world had changed. Cities were quieter now. Not broken, different. Power slowly returned. Networks reconnected. Ships came home, fewer than had left. Humanity counted its losses. Names were spoken. Faces remembered. Stories shared. There were no parades. No statues built in anger or pride. Only memory. In the weeks that followed, something rare happened. The world did not rush back to the old ways. Borders still existed, but they mattered less. Information stayed open. Resources moved where they were needed most. Old enemies no longer rushed to prepare for war. They remembered how close the end had been. The Alien Alliance kept its distance, but it did not disappear. Signals came, not commands. Questions. How do you decide without rulers? How do you accept loss and still act? How do you trust others who may fail you? Humanity did not answer with words. They answered with examples. Human ships traveled again, this time welcomed. Not as conquerors, not as masters, but as helpers and learners. On the world they had saved, life grew stronger. Its people told stories of humans who arrived tired, hungry, and afraid, yet still gave everything they had. Those stories spread. Other species began to watch Earth not with fear, but curiosity. Some Alliance members resisted. They closed themselves off, warning of chaos and risk. They called humans unstable. Humanity did not argue. They kept going. A council was offered to Earth, a place of authority. Humanity refused. Instead, they asked for something different. Access. Access to knowledge. To worlds in need. To mistakes that could be learned from. The Alliance struggled with this idea. Control was all they had ever known. But change had already begun. On Earth, children grew up hearing the story not as legend, but as warning. Unity is not comfort, teachers said. It is work. People remembered the dark cities, the cold nights, the hard choices. They remembered that unity did not mean everyone agreed. It meant no one was abandoned without reason. Years passed. Human technology improved, but slowly, carefully, with shared oversight. Not because humanity feared power, but because it respected it. The universe felt different now, less silent, more uncertain, and that uncertainty scared many species. But it also inspired them. One day, a message arrived from a distant system, a world on the edge of collapse. They asked Earth for help. Humanity answered, not with fleets, with people, doctors, builders, teachers, just like before. Above the stars, the Alliance watched a second time. This time, there was no vote to remove. Only a question whispered among them. What if this is what survival truly means? Humanity never claimed to be heroes. They knew their flaws too well. They still fought, still failed, still made mistakes. But now, when the universe looked at Earth, it saw something new. A species that did not wait to be saved. A species that did not demand control. A species that chose responsibility over fear. And in that choice, humanity found its place among the stars. Not at the top, not at the center, but as a light that refused to go out. No matter how dark the sky became,